These are donkeys years old. You'd probably see. In fact, they were in that state when I... Some reds, yeah, I think.
So, have we got 21?
I've got hundreds at home. Right, there's tons of room here to work. Can you get a clear view from... Oh, you don't want that in the way, do you?
Well, what I'll do...
Don't forget your sieve.
Don't forget, that's vital. Now, I think so we've got... I haven't got a spoon.
Spoons.
How's that, Brian?
Yeah, just about ready to go. So what I need to do, just use these pieces of paper to mix, to prepare some sand so it hasn't got any lumps in it, basically. I don't think I need a lot of white. That should be enough.
So what have we got there then? What's that picture of?
The picture is of the needles viewed from the Allen Bay sands themselves, presumably taken from probably round about where the chairlift is now, with the boat in the foreground, and the old lighthouse on the top of St Catherine's Down. Right.
And it's obviously a bit of an imaginary view.
I should say so, yes.
Only there's like those massive columns of colours.
Yes. They're in the wrong place, actually. But,
And do you know anything about Mr. Edwin Dore?
not really. I just know of his work, but as he came from, I think he came from Newport, the same as the Neats did. But
so just introduce his name. So this picture was made by Edwin Dore in 1841. Just tell me that.
This picture was made by Edwin Dore in 1841. Using sands from the Isle of Wight, principally from Allen Bay. Right, that should be about enough.
So has that got glue in it?
This has got glue in it. The others haven't.
Right.
These haven't got. I have to add glue to them afterwards.
Just wondering about the yellow charm. I think maybe you might be worth hanging on.
So just hold on a second there, Brian. So how does it work with that? Tell me about that little. Can I just have, we just start again with mixing this up, just so I can get a big close up of that. I'm afraid there'll be a fair bit of doing bits again. So how does it work with the paper funnel and everything?
Cut a paper funnel about that size. Sorry, about that size. Hold it between the thumb and forefinger, and using the third finger as a back sort of support. Fold it comme ça, and then use a spoon to put, or in this case I've already got the stuff ready. Put the sand in the cone. You don't put a lot in the cone because it won't hold it. That's one way of doing it. The The alternative is, which is I think is probably no, it's thick. His is pasted on there, thick. So I'm doing it the same way as he did it. Whereas what you can do is a very thin layer of sand.
It's okay.
A thin layer of sand, and then colour it and mix it as I go along with the feather. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Just keep going. So you've got some sand in there, and you're going to make the outline of the cliff. Tell us about that.
Well, I've already.
I mean, do you start with light colours and then move?
It's as the mood takes me, really. Oh, that's a nuisance. That is a nuisance. I didn't empty the white sand out first, did I? That was a stupid. This is going to need some heavy editing, I think.
That's all right.
That's all right. Right, good.
Sorry, right. Can you tip that away for me again, and just let's get that little bit going in there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to put some of the blacker colours there for there. Is that right? Interesting point here. He did not include the lighthouse, did he?
Would it
He
have been
left.
in 1841?
Possibly. No, yes, I have no idea, but there was a lighthouse on the top there, so it may well have been predated the erection of the lighthouse.
So there's certain things that are easier.
Yeah, some of it is very easy, especially when you're using the feather. Now, in this instance, I think that's about right, about the right size. See, what he's done is he's just put a little touch of white just here. No, I haven't got enough of the grey yet.
Is it like paint, Brian? Can you mix the colours in order to give you
Yes.
another colour? Tell me that. It's just like paint, really. You mix the colours and make a third colour.
Well, basically, the main colour differentiation is when you're creating shadows, where you just add either a darker green to a lighter one.
Can you mix the sands?
It's not terribly productive. It's best really to keep them to different colours. No, I can't see that close. Let's try and give some more colour to that.
And how long does something like that how long does that kind of?
This to do today would take me about half an hour, I should imagine.
Sorry. That's it. How do you control the flow of the sand?
Moving the thumb and forefinger to and fro.
Just tell me that as a statement, so I can control the flow of the sand by moving my.
I can control the flow of the sand by moving the thumb and forefinger to and fro while I'm working.
Oh, sorry, Brian, it's a bit of a bore. Can you do that again? The same line. Can you say that same line again?
Right. I can control the flow from the nozzle by moving the thumb and the forefinger to and fro, allowing the funnel to open, except when it's empty.
Doesn't work then.
Sorry, am I allowed in?
Poor old Charles I. He would have loved to have another visitor. No. Let's give this some.
So the yelling stopped and
Suitable. Can you see there?
So what's good about battered feather?
The pinions separate and they move the sand about the surface. And just create some texture. Another way of doing it is just to trouble is, of course, it makes a more. You can do it like that, but
And you have to have special paper or is there any?
no, I just well, I use plywood. I use plywood to do them on, but you can use on any old cardboard or anything really. It's only a very thin piece of card. This is, which seems to be fairly satisfactory.
You need to be a very patient person.
Yes. I shouldn't ask me about that. My wife doesn't think so.
She doesn't think you're patient.
No. Especially when I'm driving. Is that about the right length? That's about the right length. Let's put some backing into it now. I think that must be. I think that's about the best one.
Now this is Allen Bay sand you're using here, Brian. Can you just tell me this? You've basically got the same, okay, but you've got the same pallets to use that he's using, haven't you?
No, these aren't the same sands at all. These are
Right.
from all over the country.
Okay.
Oh, so you're not using your R&B sands?
As long as they get the publicity, I don't think they're particularly bothered. Yes, of course I didn't get. I left them in the car. I didn't even give it a thought.
It's all right.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The other thing's on.
Yeah, let's just all open the packets.
So Brian, just tell me the different techniques that people have used to do this over the years. So it started off as table decoration.
Yes, in the case of the fixed sand paintings, it originally started off as unfixed table decorations on a linen tablecloth. I think the Germans are a fairly wily lot of individuals, and they realised that getting teams of even for royalty to prepare embroidered linen tablecloths for every eventuality must have cost a fortune. So this is quite good actually, this guy. He was quite good. Well, I've never actually had the chance to try out his work. It is very detailed, there's no doubt about that. I don't know how he managed to make it so small, really. Having a job this size. Which inclines me to believe he may have actually used similar technique to what I use. It's so painstaking. Especially in that one. Apart from the fact it is rather thickly put on. Now.
You're going to manage blue.
Blue? Oh no, that's a colour wash. That's not sand. This is all colour wash here, which I ain't got.
He's still in. Okay, Brian, so where did it all start?
Well, originally it was the table deckers who were employed by George III to decorate the sweetmeat dish table at royal banquets. Now, to actually prepare and make linen tablecloths with highly skilled embroiderers, spending ages preparing these artifacts. They hit on the idea in royal courts in Europe to use table deckers to actually decorate plain white linen tablecloths with coloured sands, marble dust, and coloured sugars. And so when when the meal was finished and the sweetmeat dishes were disposed of, the tablecloth could just be lifted up and thrown, all the contents thrown away. And then they could start another linen tablecloth, same thing again, leaving spaces between each of the dishes, which were either bonbons or fruit or whatever, and nuts, to contain the pictures. So you'd have a picture here, and then you'd have a sweetmeat dish here, and a sweetmeat dish there, and so on. So, and that was the origin of it. Then George III came along. His father had introduced the table deckers into the royal courts in Windsor, and they worked on these tables, and then George III came along and watched these guys at work and said, "Why don't you fix it?" So they started to fix the sand so that it was a more interesting, in as much as they could actually sell what they were producing. And their patrons were, of course, the royal family and the immediate circle.
It's always been a bit of a hit with the royals, hasn't it?
Yes, Queen Victoria, when she moved to, when she and Albert opened up Osborne House, and encouraged, well, not deliberately encouraged, but it encouraged other patrons of the family to acquire expensive properties on the island, which of course was all brand new, because there was no, the people over here tended to live in hovels. It was a very poor area to live, and it survived mainly on allegedly wrecking, but mainly through smuggling.
And sand painting.
I shouldn't
So
get into
George
that.
III said, "Why don't you fix it?"
Yes.
So what were the first techniques that people used to try and fix these?
The first techniques that were used was to
Right, let's just pause a second. Start that.
George III.
oh yes, where were we?
No, don't worry, we'll wait until then. I'll just do some.
Oh no, I can't copy this verbatim. I just
Brian, this is just brilliant. I can't tell you how
Yeah.
excellent it is. It's really.
See, I couldn't have done this with just using sand from Allen Bay. Impossible. I'm just going to rattle on and get as much as I can going. I'm trying to get the camera in the right.
You're doing fine.
Actually, I should have. No, that's all right. I'll use. That'll do.
Sorry.
It's like a table for six.
Let's start again. Right, start again.
What other colours have we got? We use. Oh, I've got to go that there.
Do you want to have another?
George III.
Oh, George III.
We're on to the first techniques we're on to.
Yeah, so how did they first fix it?
First of all, they just used some gum arabic, which they found, because of the gum arabic, when it dries over a period, it tends to dry out fairly quickly. Pardon me. And as it shrunk, big cracks appeared in the pictures. So that wasn't very satisfactory as far as their patrons were concerned. So they had to figure out some other way of fixing it. Now, Benjamin Zobel, his technique was to.
Sorry, I'm just going to pause you at that point. Okay, you can say now Benjamin Zobel.
Who was Benjamin Zobel?
He was one of the table deckers. Benjamin Zobel was one of the table deckers who worked at Windsor, and he was the first one to mix gum arabic with White's lead, the dangerous sort, and his pictures have survived to this day and now to be found in Victoria and Albert Museum, and where else? There's none in Carisbrooke, are there?
No. Okay, so Benjamin Zobel, what did he do when he fixed them? Gum and white lead, but they didn't hold together very well. So what happened next?
No, his did. His were fine.
And
His were
was
fine.
it the
His
white
was
lead,
fine.
adding the white lead? That made
That's
it work?
right.
Can you
Made
tell
it
me
work.
that then? So why did his work and not the others?
Well, because it was only gum arabic, and the gum arabic is flexible, and of course, as it dried out, it reduced in size, and therefore created cracks in the surface of the sand. Eventually, large pieces of sand fell off the picture. So, no good. No good. But then Haas was. George Haas, he also developed his own technique, which consisted of mixing dry powder adhesive with the sand. Having arranged the picture to his satisfaction, he then fixed it using vapour, wetting it somehow or other, which he kept very quietly to himself. He didn't tell anybody else how he did it. Unfortunately, and of course his pictures were superior, or allegedly they were superior to those of George Haas, because of the amount of George Haas's were big blobs all over the picture, especially where leaves and so on were concerned. They came out as big blobs, whereas his were finely honed and very attractive. Unfortunately, of course, houses being what houses were in those days, even in royal palaces, they were a bit prone to damp. Consequently, the surface got wet, and the pictures fell apart. So Haas disappeared fairly quickly. In fact, he then acquired a cake shop in Windsor, where he took up cake making. Now, presumably, one would imagine that he used coloured sugars instead of sand to decorate his cakes with the sort of intricate